All right, after 3 impulses here in the, November-December turn, the Swedish fleet has made it back up into Karlskrona, and everybody's kind of buckled in for the winter. We got ice forming here. That means that section is all frozen over. Now, that doesn't mean a lot. It just means the ships can't go there safely anymore. That's something of a big deal. But it is still possible to slip in through the south here, which isn't so obvious on just this map. But when you look here, you can see you can get down into the Gulf there. On the other hand, this is Bothnia, so this must be the Gulf of Finland. On the other hand, over here, the Russians forced the Swedes to take the initiative and march down very slowly, 1 hex per turn. It's cold weather again, frost again, which means that movement is fairly easy along the roads and everything. The Russians hit them on impulse 3 and basically wiped out the Swedish force. I've got almost nothing left. I've got 3 units sitting here in very, very bad shape. And an operations point was lost by the Swedes, which means very little, but it means that this isn't ended yet. It doesn't end till the end of the turn. But basically, I'm not going to be able to dislodge the Russians from here, which means that I just have to stay within this 4 hexes, get my modifier. I'm not going to get a successful operation, though. All right. Not much happened in that there 4th impulse. A new wind blew up with a gale, which was close to St. Petersburg, but not enough. It's not strong enough to do an effect, as I am already an ordinary there. If something hit around here, though, it could affect those ships. I think they come as fitting out. Over here, not much again. The Swedes moved. The Russians chose not to. But it does highlight one of the things. I think I briefly mentioned it, but I checked a little bit more detail. Make sure I'm right about this, that I think can be leveled as a serious criticism. These Swedes could sit here all winter and they will not make an attrition check. There's no Valley Forge type situation here, except if you're over 40 strength points, okay? But no armies in this game so far that I've seen are going to be that size. And what that means is essentially you can spend the winter out in the middle of a swamp. You know, to me that's a little ridiculous. As long as you don't move, you don't have to ever make an attrition check, no matter what the weather, no matter what the situation, no matter what the forage condition of the terrain around you. You will be okay. And I don't like that. Maybe I'm misunderstanding something. Then I went to the simple old, well, it's not trivial to see here. Yeah, there it is. St. Petersburg coup. I have a -1 on it, actually a -2, because of the location of the troops. It ended up as Tsaritsa Elizabeth, which means I gotta find my dice. Now I come over here, and the table's exactly the same over here, except without the modifiers to it. But you use those modifiers for the fight, for the effect of the war. And now I'm on the Muscovite coup table, which you can see can generate a truce. We use this instead of the base rules on the land game, which automatically generate a truce. Now my current DRMs here, I have a +1 for the position of Lacey's MC at Williamstrad. This is, that, I don't remember what it came from. Ah, yes, it came from, no, I don't remember. It's not a draft. Hat's dominant or whatever. So there's less focus there. Now, I think that's already, or not Hat's dominant, something else. Something is giving me, because I wanted to give additional operations points for something. I can't remember. I don't think it should have an effect, because Hat's dominant actually does affect the table there. So if that's what it was from, it probably shouldn't, but I can't remember why I put it there. Okay, so we're on the, but I know it was only for the quarter, and the quarter's up. We're on the Muscovite coup. Now we make a roll, +1 is 8. we get a truce. And a truce is going to be 1 die for each turn after the initial. On a result of 8 or more, the truce will end, and we get this cumulative effect. I got to find some kind of marker to indicate where the truce started and stuff like that. I don't remember when the war started, and that actually affects the die rolls here. This war weariness is +1 for 8 full turns. July, August 41 sounds like about when it may have started, but I can't recall for sure. But I'll play it that way because, hey, what the hell. All right. Okay, some repair and such not going on here. We did have the situation where the Russians had a failed order. The Swedes did not. They both had a successful order. So the Swedes gained a point of prestige somewhere over there. Other than that, not a lot happened over here. The truce, the effect of the truce. Over here, it's like the pre-war situation. You can sail around, you can do missions. There's no restrictions, except you can't engage the enemy. And if your action requires you to engage the enemy or to support the campaign, it just doesn't count. So it can't actually, you won't get any prestige off of it. I'm putting blockades with engage the enemy because they essentially interdict a port, or interdictions or stuff like that. What it's not clear in the rules that would be the case, but it doesn't make sense. I mean, to blockade something if there's a truce on, right? I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it's not clearly called out. And I think it doesn't make sense to allow a blockade during the truce. Now, over here on the land side, it means that both sides have to withdraw from the other's territory, but they can hold on to fortresses that they have. So the Russians will get to keep Williamstrad, but not advance any further into Sweden, Finland. The Swedes have to run as hard as they can to get to the border, which probably will mean their unit is dissolved. It can't survive much. It's pretty much there. We also got a lot of reinforcements here. You can see just tons and tons of Swedes over here. The Russians are even more of a problem. They filled out their army. They filled all their columns. They filled their garrison here and still had more. And you can see I've got 3 more garrisons here. That's kind of cheating. The reason it's cheating is I couldn't do administrative movement from St. Petersburg. And I've got a unit within 4 hexes of me. So I wouldn't have been allowed to move those there. However, they have no place they can go. Everything is filled in the St. Petersburg hex. Everything that could be in the St. Petersburg hex is filled. I can't obviously shift them in this direction. So it seemed to make sense rather than, that they didn't make it to St. Petersburg is kind of the thought here. In fact, whether or not they could have made it to St. Petersburg using administrative movement, obviously they couldn't, but they're just reinforcements anyway. Just guesstimating there. But I've got a lot more troops than I need. I turned everything into a damn auxiliary that I could, just to get them off the map, essentially. It's kind of weird. Some of the Dragoons don't have dual purpose role, so you have to use them as cavalry, for example. Well, as semi-cav. And I noticed I forgot something. Over in the... it's not too big a deal. But over here, in the scenario, there's a special kind of reinforcements, these new builds. I forgot to roll for these throughout the game. I think it's a 0 or 1, 0 through 2, something like that. You get this each turn you get to roll. It's just additional stuff. So the only thing at the beginning of the game that's available, I think, is the Swedish one. But coming up, there are bigger and bigger piles of new builds throughout the game. So far it hasn't had an effect. I haven't dug that deeply into the decommissioned ships anyway. Alright, so I'll roll them and put them in play. And it looks to me like we're going to load this up. I think it's short, but I can't tell. But it's the end of the year. It seems like a good time to do one. Now, next turn's a quarterly turn, so it's going to be kind of rich, but there's not much going on during it because of the truce. So it'll be kind of like those early turns where I was doing a lot of stuff. Less and less throughout the game am I going to be paying attention to individual actions. I'll just be scoping it and saying, hey, here's what happened this turn. It's painful enough for me to go through all the chart flipping and everything. I don't expect you guys to watch through that. I'll just do the suffering for you. Seriously. Oh, and the guards. The guards have left. Now, they're supposed to come back the next quarterly turn. Well, the next quarterly turn is next turn. I think what they mean is that they're gone until the one after that, because it would be a long trip to Moscow and back. All right, up.